Welcome to my next step on the path of a hobbyist. Today I decided to experiment with creating stone texture and color. Understanding how to make something look like stone is a fundamental skill I want going forward with my future projects. To test the 3 most common techniques, I need 3 foam squares. I decided to form these into dungeon tiles like Black Magic Craft does so I could both see proportionally how the techniques work and to make it easier to paint different colors later. Adding extra details such as cracks wouldn't have benefited the experiment, so I decided not to add them. For these squares I have the classic foil ball, a literal rock, and a container of smaller rocks. The foil ball and the rock have the same rule for adding texture: hit the foam with different parts. However, I learned later that I needed to use more force when doing this. I thought I would damage the foam if I pressed too hard. Well, I did press hard enough to make some nice looking grooves. They lead to some problems once I start painting. The smaller rocks, on the other hand, had the same problem but to a greater degree. What was supposed to happen was as the rocks spun around, they would hit the foam and make random grooves and divots. However, these rocks didn't have enough weight to make a big enough impact on the foam. If you look closely, they did make some impact, but not enough to make the foam look like, well, anything other than foam. After trying out each technique, I decided to paint each square to look like 3 different types of stone. In the middle would be the classic gray stone, and on the sides would be sandstone and clay. There are more colors to stone than just gray, so knowing how to recreate more colors will give myself a wider range to work with later on. After painting on the initial coats, I learned what happens when you don't use enough force. The paints slightly filled in the grooves and as a result made the squares look overall flatter. The light grooves also made dry brushing a lot harder, which did lead to an idea. I decided to try a kind of reverse dry brushing. Instead of adding color above the grooves, I decided to add in color into the grooves. Painting the color I wanted in a single stroke, I took the paint off the top with a paper towel. The final product is definitely an interesting stone, but not a realistic looking one. It looks fine, but there is that inherent something is wrong. It could be used if you're trying to imply that something was wrong in the area or you're in a sort of reverse world. Starting from the final texture, the small rocks are definitely a failure. They seemed to work for the videos I watched that showed it, but they could have been using heavier rocks or lighter foam to get the effect. Between the foil and the rock makes a better texture in my opinion, but proportionally the foil makes far more sense. I'm probably going to switch between these 2 techniques as the project demands. Color-wise, I have a long way to go. While each one came out interesting, none of them ended with a sense of realism. The sandstone and the gray stone would have been better if I managed to add the paint in the correct order, and when making the color for the clay, I should have added red to brown instead of the opposite. But this is one of many steps that one needs as a hobbyist, and it is a step I'm happy to have taken. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you want to watch my future steps and leave a comment with your thoughts and advice on where I should take my next step.